The Atlas was our first ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile. This was all kind of a response to Sputnik going up in the 50s. We recognized if the Soviet Union had the rocket technology to send a spy satellite into space, they could send over nukes. So very rapidly, we started developing our own missile defense systems. The Atlas, it could travel over 5,000 miles, pretty much hit any target in the Northern Hemisphere. And this carried a thermonuclear warhead that was over 300 times more powerful than what we dropped on Japan in World War II.
Holy cow.
So yeah, this was a weapon of mass destruction. But really, this was meant to be a deterrent to nuclear war. The concept was, if you launch on us, we launch on you. Nobody wins.
Yeah. Mutual destruction.
That's correct, mad. So it's a plan we knew we didn't want to go down. In fact, one of the Air Force generals said if we ever had to launch these, they didn't do their job. So
the missile's called Astra?
Atlas was the name of this rocket.
Okay.
So the Atlas, like I said, was our first ICBM. This was only operational for 4 years, and then it was already obsolete. Our next generation of rocket, called the Titan, and Titan II, were put into play. Now, they started construction here in 1959, finished in 61, and this was operational from 61 to 65. But that was the height of the Cold War. You had the Cuban Missile Crisis going on, the JFK assassination happened. The officers working here thought at any moment we may have to go to war. Fortunately, this was never used as a weapon of mass destruction. When they decommissioned this program, there was a technology transfer between the Air Force and NASA for a great space race with the Russians. So we repurposed the rocket, took off the warhead, put on a space capsule, and sent some of our first astronauts into orbit on top of an ICBM. And we also sent up our own spy satellites and global communication networks, and I did some research. I found the tail number to the rocket stored right here. It was taken down to Florida and then used to send up a weather satellite for NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
Oh, cool.
So in a lot of ways, I feel like this rocket technology actually helped bring us together as a human race more than tear us apart. I mean, you have to look for that silver lining, but it kept us out of war, and now with space-age technologies, I can pick up a cell phone and call up my college roommate who lives in Australia. Now, this silo goes 176 feet beneath us. This was engineered to withstand a nearby nuclear strike. When they started pouring concrete, they didn't stop until they finished. It's one continuous pour, no seams in the structure. Up here at the surface, it's 9 feet thick. These blast doors behind me are 3 foot thick, 75 tons each. So you had large hydraulic rams that would open up the doors, an elevator would lift the rocket to the surface, then it would launch. The whole process of fueling it, raising it, and launching it took about 15 to 20 minutes, and here in Kansas, we figured we had about a 30-minute window. If they were launching on us, we need to get our birds up in the sky because this was going to be a target. Even though it was a top-secret facility, we assumed we knew where a lot of their missile bases were. They probably knew where ours are, too, of course. So, now, that's why they placed these here right in the center of the continent. You can find them in Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Texas. There's another squadron up in the Adirondacks in upstate New York as well.
How many total do you have?
They built 72 of these Atlas. Now, the next generation of rocket, the Titan II, just had a door that slid to the side and the rocket could be launched from inside of the silo. So it's a much faster, safer operating system.
That's how I thought they all were.
Uh-huh. Now, first dibs on this property went to the city of Wilson. They could have purchased this for $1. It cost $12.8 million to build this. Originally, you had 3 antennas for communications with Strategic Air Command. Your main tower was out in the field. Right here was an RF cone, radio frequency. And just over here is a bunker that goes 30 feet underground. Inside was stored a telescopic antenna. If your main tower were to go down, that was your backup plan. Blast door would open up, antenna pop off the ground 100 feet in the air, and you could resume communications.
You can climb down that?
Yeah, there's a ladder that goes down into there. So now, originally, you had 12 missile silos in this missile squadron here in Kansas. They were spread out around Schilling Air Force Base over in Salina, Kansas. This was site number 8. It was the furthest one away. It's one of the only properties they put in a small grass airstrip to fly in and check on things. That part of the land is now covered in trees. I don't intend on any planes landing. These are your air intake and exhaust shafts that would allow for fresh air exchange down into the bunker. Now you had sensors outside that could detect an explosion. Inside, blast valves would shut, making sure that explosive force couldn't go down and kill everyone. Then you had filters that could filter out chemical, biological, and nuclear contaminants, and you would create a positive pressure environment in the bunker. That way no contaminated air could seep its way in. It's always going to be pushing air out, if that makes sense. Just over here is the escape hatch. At the main entryway were blocked. This was your backup plan for getting out.
Looks like your cover needs some.
I know. I have plans to have a new cover made here soon. So originally this shaft would have been filled with 4 tons of sand. In the event of an explosion, it would just blow over the top. Now inside there's a handle you pull, doors open up, all the sand drops down like through an hourglass. Then you can climb up that ladder to get to the surface. Now, it was thought that the extreme heat of a nuclear explosion would have melted the sand at the surface and turned it into glass. So the missileers had a special hammer to break their way out. Yeah, they thought of everything, eh?
Yeah.
You guys ready to go underground?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think
We'll
it
take
would
the-
have made of glass.
We'll take the stairs, not the ladder, okay? Here we go.
I don't know, man. I think the ladder would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I know, right?
That would be cool.
What kind of dog is that?
Rhodesian Ridgeback.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
what I thought.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Richard, Ryan. Oh, Ryan. There you go. Okay. Sorry. Oh, we got flowers in this.
All right. Down we go.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Walking into history.
I like this kind of thing.
Hard to believe that guys sat down here and
Oh.
we're ready to push a button that would end the world.
I was reading somewhere that there were some close calls a few times.
Yeah. Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, but even on the Russian side, there's something that they almost pressed the button, but something happened.
Well, thank God it didn't happen.
Yes.
Right here, there's a button you press. This would buzz you into the next room. Electronic locks unlock the door. You shut the door behind you, pick up a phone, look into a camera, and say your access code. If you say the right code, the next door gets buzzed open. You can go through. If you say the wrong code, you're trapped in this room until military police come to take you away. So this is known as the entrapment room for that purpose, but you guys are authorized to come in.
Yay, that would be just fun.
Next we come to these 2 large glass doors. This is a 2,000-pound door, 1 ton. Now this is made of manganese and has a higher melting point than regular steel. You may have noticed as we've come down the stairs, we've already gone around a corner, another corner, another corner. Engineering is such, if that explosive force were coming down here, each time it has to stop and turn, it's going to lose up to 10% of its energy. By the time it got to the curvature of this door, that would dissipate that energy into these thick concrete walls and blow up this hole just above. All right, follow me this way. We're going to go down to the top floor, known as the ready room.
Go ahead.
Another door. It is. So this is a pool.
Did not look like this when I bought it. One of the first things you notice as you walk into this room is this concrete column here in the center. This is a support column that holds the bunker in place. You see this handle right here? That goes to the escape hatch you were looking down earlier.
Oh.
Now over here you can see we've come down the stairs past the glass doors. We're now on the top floor. This is what the floor plan was. So you had a bathroom with a shower and a couple toilets, your kitchen, air handling room, medical supply closet, and bunk beds. Next we're going to go down to the lower level, the launch control room where they worked, and then we're going to walk through the tunnel and look down into the silo. Now here you can see you had what was called a crib. You had 9 floors, platforms that gave you access to the missile. And you can see when it was raised to the surface how the flames would shoot to the side. Now all that infrastructure has been removed when they decommissioned the base, but you can see how originally those 9 floors were attached to large springs on the wall. If an explosion happened up above, the entire floor system could move on those big shock absorbers. These floors also were attached to the ceiling with air shocks that kept everything level. If one person was walking from one side of the room to the other, it would always be adjusting. Even the lights are on springs. That way, none of your equipment got damaged.
Through this door here. Now we're going downstairs. And these are steep. And this door would be sealed shut, locked. And then this room would be another man. And this is the original console table where all the switching was. And I'm sure somewhere in here there was a place to put a key, or that might be just the movies. But yeah, this thing's cool. Most of these places, this was taken out. And then that over there would be all computers. And then these adjacent rooms would have been power and other stuff, which now has been converted to storage and stuff. Now we're going to head down to where the silo is. It was very nice of them to let me come inside and video. That would have been where all the cables and stuff went through from the command desk to send the messages to the rocket. So come through here, watching your feet. And then this door right here is 2,000 pounds, but you know, you wouldn't think so, but it's actually not that hard to open up. And then there's another glass door here. And into the launch silo itself. This is, to the bottom, is about 175 feet, and about 80 feet of that is underwater. These columns up against the wall, there would have been gantries that went around at certain levels down the side of the rocket, so they could down the side of the missile, so they could do maintenance on it. And then at the bottom there was a lift, so when it was ready to launch, those huge doors right there would be opened up by hydraulic rams, and that's probably like 170 tons of doors. The rams would have been right there. Those doors would open up, and then a platform would lift the rocket up to where it's sticking out of that hole, and then it would launch. But these right here are big spring, I don't know what you'd call it, but if there was a nuclear strike close to this facility, what these would do is the rocket would just bounce up, or the missile would just bounce up and down nice and slowly, so it wouldn't be damaged inside the silo. It's pretty cool. This is history right here. Cold War history. All right. And then that's a look back at that's your command room back up in there. And hence you have these two big steel doors, and then they added that third one later because they didn't think these would be enough to stop the blast of the rocket or the missile as it's taking off. All right, so this is the top of the silo. These are the doors that you saw from underneath. This slab and that slab would open up like this and like that on hydraulic rams, and then the missile would come up like, and it'd stick out of the silo. I'm not sure how much, but then during the launch it would just take off. But yeah, this is super cool. A lot of history here. Imagine being the guys sitting down underground controlling, history. Now, somebody couldn't just go sideways and take over everything because they had systems in place for that. All right. Well, talk to you later. Bye.